Hi, everybody. I hope you guys are having an incredible day. Welcome to the live. Today, we're going to deep dive into day 12 of our challenge. For some reason, I am not able to share this live stream. So if you are able to share the live stream, please do. That would be wonderful if you can help me with that on the social platforms to let people know that I'm live because it's not letting me share it. And I always get messages from people asking, why doesn't it let us know? We subscribe to the notifications and it doesn't let us know. So I really cannot control that, unfortunately, because it's YouTube for some reason doesn't give you the notifications. I know that you need to have your little bell on in your subscription to my channel, but if that doesn't work, how about now? Is the volume better? Okay. Yeah, so if you guys can help me share this live, that would be fantastic. For some reason, I'm not able to share this. So welcome everybody. Hello, Alexander. So great to see you. Psych Maria Clara. Wonderful. Hola, Geraldine. Saludos desde Colombia. Los incendios son tremendos. Oh, qué pena. Siempre te veo. Un abrazo grande, un abrazo muy grande. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Es un honor tenerlos. Qué lindo verlos. Lisa Davis, hello. Love, love, love. Wonderful to see you. Alexander does get the YouTube notifications. Awesome. I'm so glad you get them, Alex. So many people say they don't. Hit the bell under description. Okay, good. Much better. Okay, good. Good. I'm so glad you guys can hear me. Okay, guys, we have an amazing topic today. Today we are going to discuss integrating death and rebirth. So let's jump into it. We have a lot to talk about and a lot to work on here. I'm located in California, Northern California. And let me take a look here. I'm going to open my presentation. So let's focus on how we are starting. Today we're doing day 12. Now, in this series of Integrating Death and Rebirth, for those of you that are following along, we are doing 30 days of death and rebirth, and we are on day 12. And today we're going to be discussing a little bit more about integrating for our higher purpose. And this is a really important comment because we need to understand how to integrate the higher purpose in order to understand our life purpose, the reason for your incarnation, the reason for de-incarnating from this realm, and what influences that, what roles are played in that influence of your incarnation. The number one question that I get over and over again in my sessions is, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do here? And a lot of people are trying to find their purpose at this time. They are trying to discover what they're supposed to be doing here. And a lot of people are actually changing their careers and changing their purposes as a major redirect from what they were doing. And the reason why so many of you are going through that transition is essentially because the old paradigm is dissolving. Okay, we are dismantling from the inside out this old paradigm of everything that we used to value as a society. And a lot of the things that were inversions and imbalances of this realm, of this holographic matrix, essentially are coming to the surface to a point where we're noticing that those things are not sustainable. They're not sustainable for us. They are not sustainable for humanity. And when things are not sustainable for us, for our soul, then we have to allow ourselves to let it go. Even though many of our core concepts and ideas are rooted in these old programs and thinking, one of the most difficult parts in the cycles of life and death is the ability to regenerate, to cycle, and to experience the life and death of things as it naturally needs to emerge, as it naturally needs to come into play. Any resistance of that death causes suffering in profound ways. Any attachment of ourselves to people, places, things are always going to cause profound suffering. And the identification of ourselves as tied to these ideals as tied to these programs, as tied to the structures of thought and reality and the construct, are going to cause us suffering. Okay, please understand. So the attachment to these constructs really create a major disassociation and disconnect for us, because there is a profound, stronger, more powerful emergence of the soul and truth, and something that is innate to the human consciousness. And that is the natural order of things. It is encoded in our DNA. It is embedded in the natural cycles of our healthiest existence. And so that is encoded in our genetic code. We also have history, a lifetime of history in which we have proven and experienced this through our ancestors, many generations of programs that are destructive, self-destructive to ourselves and to the collective. And when we begin to notice these kinds of destructive patterns within ourselves, through our family lineage, through the collective suffering, through our own suffering, and we ignore them, or we suppress them, or we don't allow ourselves to understand them fully, there is something profound that happens, and it creates a disconnect between the higher self and the physical vessel. Because the innate part of you that is trying to emerge in that self-organization of optimum being, in harmony with the earth, in harmony with your ancestors, in harmony with the people, places, and things in your life currently. Now, to be in harmony means to be completely in the present moment, completely in awareness and in agreement with the things that you are contributing to and participating as a part of. So if at any part of you, you are acting, let's say there is a lack of connection between your internal intuition and your actions and your thoughts, then this is where you need to really pay attention. And especially with this full moon that we're experiencing here collectively, something that is really coming up are some of these major parts of us that we have suppressed in terms of things that we are not willing to let go, lessons that we have not chosen to understand and integrate. And this seems to be the case for every of these cycles that we go through. These major lunar transitions, these cosmic movements are always creating portal opportunities because the energy is entering the earth at a more expanded rate. Okay, so when we have a full moon, the magnetic field is magnified, it's larger, and therefore your body has the ability to also expand your own magnetic field, which allows you to clear out. Okay, so the full moon represents endings, clearings, cleaning. And the reason why is because what happens with the magnetic pool of this moon cycle is that it opens up your body to release what needs to be released. Okay, so when we don't hold on, when we don't release what needs to be released during these cycles, we cause ourselves suffering, and we attach to archetypal aspects of ourselves, personalities, limiting belief systems, old parts of ourselves that we are not allowing to die. Okay, so this is very much a time in which we are becoming friends with life and death and the cycles of life and death, because essentially what emerges from there is the rebirth. Okay, and in this year, number 8 year, as I mentioned before, we are coming to karmic cycles. Karmic cycles are coming to an end. Karmic cycles coming to an end. And so collectively, karmic cycles that we've been dealing with must come to a close. Okay, so anytime that you're holding on to karmic cycles that are destructive to yourselves, these can be habits, it can be relationships, it can be family interactions, it can be partnerships, marriages, careers, anything in your realm of your purpose and your existence, anything that is blocking your ability to access higher bands of source, higher consistent states of internal harmony. Okay, I did a podcast this morning, awesome podcast, where we discussed some of these really intense topics about the integration of our purpose as a higher soul and as we're evolving in the bigger picture. And one of the things that came up in the conversation was that essentially, we we as these souls have a higher purpose here. Okay, and what is that higher purpose? Okay, it's to reunify, to become one again. That is the design of this holographic construct. It's design of your biology, it's design of your biochemistry, the nature of your bioelectricity of your body is all attached, allowing you to create an environment for this unity. Okay, and we are not familiar with what that feels like. Our closest example of that bliss states of unified consciousness is the human orgasm. Okay, and so when we come into an orgasmic state, we it's as if the body will dissolve and you are immersed in this feeling of pleasure through the nervous system and through the body. But there is way more that is happening in the body multidimensionally in that moment. And the power of that creative life force coming into its full expression through the human, the release of life force for both men and women in that state, is a demonstration of what the human can experience when it unites with source. Okay, so when you remember yourself, you remember your higher self, you reconnect with the higher self, you integrate the upper, middle, and lower dantian in your body, you are creating that union. Okay, and the union of those things create a type of orgasmic ecstasy state, which is the bliss state that is emerging from the 0 point. And that bliss state that we come into of complete peace, the most profound peace that anyone has ever felt. And one of the interesting things about interdimensional contact is that one of the things that is reported the most from ET contact is that people are invited into the experience of this incredible bliss state. Okay, and I experienced it myself, and I hear it every time in my support groups, in my groups working with clients in hypnotherapies with contactees, even people that don't know that they're contactees. One of the things that they experience either in a deep dream state, a lucid dream, or in contact is that in contact with these higher dimensional beings, they experience one of the most profound peaceful states that they've ever witnessed in their entire life. And they do express it as an orgasmic state. It is an ecstasy that cannot be explained simply by words. And this kind of bliss state, this unison that we kind of enter, also known as the samadhi, of entering into this state of reunification with the source, is when the body becomes one with the DNA of the earth. You open up your Akashic records, you begin to access the higher dimensional realms of yourself, and that unified state really brings this body into its highest optimum function. Okay, so most of us chase the orgasm without understanding what we're chasing after. Most of us pursue love without understanding why we have such a deep thirst for love. Okay, because within the underlayers of that love is a complex organism of co-creation that is a part of our design. And we have that encoded within ourself, within our individual selves. We have all of the tools necessary to create that divine ecstatic state of bliss connection with source. Okay, and so for that reason, my core purpose that I will share with you in terms of what our purpose here on earth is to embody this unified aspect of ourselves. Okay, so let's talk about the PowerPoint. Let me open up the PowerPoint. I'm just going to share with you some of the ways that I see that we are moving through this ascension cycle. Okay, how to integrate your higher purpose. Okay, so let's talk about this. First of all, how do we know what is our higher purpose? Okay, so I would break down purpose in a couple different ways. In fact, two different ways to view purpose. Okay, number one, you incarnate into this physical vessel, and you are immediately attached to your ancestral lineage. Okay, so in the womb, you take on the genetic data that's inherited through mom and dad, and that information that you're holding on to will define one of your most powerful purposes. Okay, the next, and remember, the time that you were conceived, the time that the semen went into the egg to fertilize the creation in that incredible implosion. And I've showed you guys the video of the moment of insemination. When insemination occurs, this is incredible implosion that occurs. And it's this incredible implosion, this centripetal spin, that actually anchors the soul into the zygote, essentially what develops into the zygote. And the process of that the development of that into the zygote is essentially a fractal of the functions of this universe as it comes into its creation. Okay, so we, for a moment within the womb, we are completely in alignment with the universal consciousness. And we pool from all of these networks of universal consciousness in order to experience this integration of all the things that are available to us in that moment that create who we are. And there is a snapshot of the universe that is encoded in yourself at the time of birth. And this is what we know as our astrology. Okay, the snapshot of the universe is depicted as astrology. Now, the astrology provides us a self-organized understanding of infinite potential as organized through you. Okay, and as I mentioned, each one of your chakras is deeply connected to the planets of the solar system, but even more to our brother-sister systems that we are interacting with. All of those solar systems and systems that, so the way I'm explaining it is through our, understanding, our limited understanding of what the universe looks like. But I'd like for you to take your mind away from the idea of solid planets and rather think of it more as these cosmic energies that participate in the creation of your essence at the time of your birth. Their position, their movement, the cycles in which they are moving from create vibrational charges that are encoded in your genetic code at the time of your birth. And further, they create portal. The collective movement of all of these systems create a portal. Just like we have full moon events that allow clearing, this entire day and the planetary systems and the locations of those planets together create portals, either a very contractive or expansive energy. And the movement of the different planetary systems open and close these contractive and expansive systems for energy to enter in very specific ways. Okay, so at the time of your birth, at the time of your, your time of your conception, the insemination of you into your body, into the physical vessel that is then developed from those cells, is encoded the infinite potential that comes into play, self-organized through the planets that exist in those positions at the time of your conception. And additionally, your ancestral lineage and the history of your ancestral lineage and everything that, all the choices that they have made to call forth your essence through that portal of the planetary systems, in order to be a vibrational frequency charge that is designed to pull forward your ancestral lineage and then later the collective based on your choices in your life, in your state of awareness or not. So our first purpose then, so as you can see, I'm explaining many of these different elements that participate in your creation, which also depict part of the influences of your purpose. How so? Because first of all, your ancestral lineages, everything that went down mother and father lineage, if you come from adopted family, foster families, whatever setup that you have, your nucleus that you call a family, that you grew up in the first 7 years of your life, from the womb until the first 7 years of your life, and then into puberty, this stage of your life is deeply programmed and prepared for by these historic influences. Okay, and so we take on the programming from mother and father. Excuse me. We take on the programming from mother and father, and essentially, we are as a child, we are parsing through what we know innately to be true from the information we received in our time in the womb, the environment around us while we were in the womb, and then our connection to source and what we remember from our most immediate frequency, which is simultaneously existing in the present moment. Okay, so remember, time is not linear, it is multidimensional, and it is simultaneous. It's like a spherical, simultaneous system of emotion, of frequencies. And whatever your frequency is now in this present moment, you will be in resonance with these simultaneous aspects of yourself. That's what you were aware of in the womb and in the time of gestation. Okay. This has been studied. This has been studied by many experiments that have been done on the dreams that little infant childs are having in the womb, because they dream and they have been able to map the brain waves that the fetus is creating inside of the womb. And the child in the womb literally seems to navigate some kind of alternate dimensional realms in their dream state while they are in the womb. Now, we used to think that dreams are only a representation of our current waking life, okay? But this little fetus that is developing in the womb, as early as 3 months, it's just the body parts are just developing. It's showing brainwave patterns that are developing as soon as the brain comes into its full development. So the gestation until the brain comes into full development. When the brain comes into full development, the fetus begins to give off these brain waves. Okay, they're recording and mapping them. So this goes to show that the activity of the child is, I mean, this is just one of many examples. There are many other examples of how experiments have been done to kind of observe what the child is experiencing in their thought process and minds. For example, they wake up from nightmares. They have emotions. Sometimes they will cry. Sometimes they will have fearful emotions. And this is measured through vibrational frequencies. So there's definitely an entire experience that this fetus is experiencing when they are awake and when they are sleeping in this gestation process. And of course, when the child is born, there are many children that remember their past lives, not only remember their past lives, but many children that are aware of their information that is just incredibly advanced of this universe. And these children are tapping into that. Okay. And the information that's being processed by them is something that a lot of them, they remember it up until a certain age. And then with all of the external stimulus, they begin to forget. Okay. And this is, of course, the programming and of the children as they come into their conscious awareness and their development. What we want to try to do with children is to help develop that intuitive faculty so that they can sustain their memory. Because once again, memory is activated DNA. Memory is portals. Memory provides portal for our whole self. And the more that we remember who we are, what we are, beyond the construct that we have, came into, the more we can expand our conscious awareness, navigate higher dimensions, remember who we are, understand our agreements, our contractual agreements. Okay. So this human body, essentially, the human body is going through different stages in this spiritual evolution. One of our works here is to be able to integrate all of the programs that we have embodied and taken on from our ancestral lineages. The deprogram of these programs, these limiting belief systems, the collective trauma, the ancestral trauma that's brought down generations, is the key to the liberation of the soul, in that it begins to access a higher state of free will, meaning that it knows that it's capable to choose, to make choices, and the cause and effect of those choices. That's what I mean by free will. Okay? When you are aware that you have free will, you understand that you are able to make choices, and your level of consciousness will create outcomes. Now, every single one of your choices has a side effect. And if you understand the outcome of that, you understand that you are affecting universes, not just yourself, not just the people involved in your experiences. And this is actually one of our most powerful purposes, is that we understand that we are a product of our previous generations, the ancestral lineages and their choices. We are a direct product of that. We were brought into manifestation as a result of that. And our soul agrees to come in at this time in order to experience this temporary life. Okay, so the next step in the purpose of a human is understanding your multidimensionality. Okay, as you begin to activate your DNA, you begin to wake up more memory. You wake up awareness of yourself in as higher dimensional beings. You interact with higher dimensional beings. You begin to exchange. You begin to become aware of the agreements that you've made through your ancestral lineage here on Earth and interdimensionally. This is extremely important, and this is the purpose of said ET contact, or interdimensional interactions. The point is that you integrate all the fractals of yourself, that you bring them into the present moment, and you understand the mastery of your navigation in these dimensional realms. Because everything, all the unfinished business for generations and generations that your bloodline has participated in, play a profound role in the collective evolution and the timelines that we're experiencing collectively. So what we are being asked at this time, and especially with this transition that we're going through in this moon, this Leo moon, we are expanding consciousness into the point where we have to understand, we have to mature spiritually in understanding the cause and effect of our intentions. Our subconscious intentions in everything we do is affecting many things, many realms, many parts of you. And one of your purposes is to become aware of that, so you understand what you're creating, why and how. Because what ends up happening alternatively is that the human is constantly going back into unconscious states, consciously going back to sleep, unconsciously in their everyday life. And it isn't until they begin to realize that they are repeating these patterns of suffering that they begin to wake up consciousness and make changes in their lives. But by then, many things have gone into effect. People get married, people have children, they are unifying bloodlines, they are creating life choices, careers. So many things can happen when we are unconscious. Okay, and so again, we become parasites that continue to propagate the suffering of this planet in those unconscious states. So the clearing of your DNA is the deprogramming of all the inherited belief systems that are not in alignment with unity consciousness. Let's go to creator states. Okay, so the second level of purpose, once you understand the mechanisms of the physical vessel, which are deprogramming of your DNA, deprogramming of programs, as you begin to refine your DNA, as you begin to refine your vibrational frequency. So let me make this clear. The refinement of your DNA is exactly the refinement of your vibrational frequency, because your vibrational frequency is an output of your genetic information. And within this, within the information that you hold in your genetic lineage, if you are still repeating the same patterns of your ancestors, your frequency is not going to change. It's not changing. It doesn't matter if you have a smile on your face every day. It doesn't matter if you meditate every day. If this internal clearing, and if you don't end the repetitive karmic programs that are running down your bloodline, you're not doing very much. It's almost like you're swimming in place. Okay, so why do we know this? Okay, we just look historically at the many cycles of heightened levels of advanced evolutionary civilizations in history and their downfalls. Okay, anytime that we went towards the artificial, and the only time that we go towards the artificial, whether it's depending on technology or external resources that we are using as parasitic exchange, meaning we give away our power, meaning we exist in these lower states of co-creation. Okay, so we are in states of survival, we're states in possessiveness and competition, and we're in states of ambition, all of which are separation, to be in effect of your environment. So we exist in survival. So the being in a constant state of survival will not allow you to tap into your co-creative abilities. Okay, so I would say that the second purpose that a human has, so before you start thinking about what you're going to do with your career, this is really where we need to sit down and do the internal work. And this kind of work requires deep meditation, deep internal shadow work, deep introspect, okay, and reviewing and really understanding yourself at a deep level. What triggers you to behave the way you do? What are the emotions that you're playing out? And what's fueling those belief systems? Because cause and effect is a very powerful, it's a bioelectrical charge. Again, we infuse this holographic matrix with a charge of our emotions, with a charge of our intentions. Everything, every word that we speak, everything that we're trying to create, there's nothing that goes without a side effect and a cause. Okay, or I mean an effect. So as we ascend the ladder of co-creation, we're beginning to understand that as we move out of these states of survival, we begin to come into unity consciousness. We begin to enter into states of being caring, of being peaceful. Okay, so if you are not a peaceful person, if you're not a person that can exist in a state of peace, and there is a tremendous difference between peace and hypnotic unconsciousness. Okay, so the difference is that when you are in a state of peace, you're in a state of co-creation. When you're in a state of hypnosis and you are comfortable in your suffering, you are in a state of unconsciousness. You are not creating anything. Okay, you manifest at a lower level. And the kind of manifestation that we are being called to come into now is a unity consciousness manifestation, a manifestation in which we understand the cause and effect of our actions in the bigger picture, not just us, ourselves, our egos, our little desires, but beyond that, not just our immediate relationships and the things that are happening in a body in this moment, but the bigger picture of how you are participating in the creation, the co-creation of this system. Okay, so and it's not that your mind has to go there first. What I'm talking about is a natural side effect of what happens as you integrate your internal shadows, as you heal your wounds, as you heal yourself, as you begin to come out of separation and survival into a state of harmony internally. Your internal harmony will, by vibrational frequency, align you with greater systems of greater, higher intelligence and consciousness. And this internal harmony is where we begin to come into alignment with higher states of consciousness, higher dimensions, the earth in itself, which is an organism, in which we begin to have compassion for one another. Okay, so the next level is this compassionate state, right? Caring, peaceful compassion. And our next state is to come into reflection communication, where we're working with light, we're working with frequency. We become a manifester. Our word co-creates in this realm. Okay, but you really can't have the tool of co-creation and manifestation if you don't know compassion, because then you would be an incompassionate ruler, a person that is self-destructive, and you go back into the lower categories of ambition, power, possessiveness, competitiveness, survival state, separation. Okay, so there is a very big difference between these different states. If you meditate every day, but you are still existing in a state of disempowerment and separation and survival, you're not doing the internal work to clear those belief systems that are holding you from actually embodying integrity, clarity, and internal harmony. And to reach internal harmony, you have to be able to look at your shadows, you have to be able to look at your light, and you have to integrate these parts of you. Okay? So um, as you go up these creator states, and to understand your higher purpose, and I'm getting to the purposes in just a minute, the physical purposes, okay, so bear with me, but we need to understand this. Why? Because right here, number 5, okay, just reflection, communication, postulates, light. Okay, so again, we live in a holographic universe. This is a holographic universe. The construct is holographic. It's run by bioelectrical charges through your emotional body that inputs into the system. Creation equals experiences, equals your everyday life. From the moment you open your eyes in the morning, you wash your face, you get up, you get dressed, you take shower, you get dressed. All of these things, what happens, the next thing that happens with your partner, or the next thing that happens in your families, all of these things are a direct reflection of your internal self immediately. And in dream time, when you're sleeping and you're going into the dream states, all of what you're experiencing in dream time, as much as you can remember because of your level of consciousness, the more conscious you are, the more you remember. You are dictating and co-creating in those dimensional levels. Okay. So this is exactly where we begin to come into this understanding of how we are co-creating in this realm. And one of the most important things as we are beginning to come into this realm of co-creation is that we begin to move, completely come in to co-creation in a way that we're manifesting with integrity, truth, love, healing. Okay? So this is something that we need to understand. And the higher we go up these levels of co-creation, the more clarity you have. This clarity is imperative. You cannot have clarity when you are not understanding yourself. Okay, you cannot have clarity when you don't know who you are, where you come from, and what you're here to do. So these number 1 levels of purpose that we're parsing through will dictate what your gifts, okay? Because guess what happens? Once you start to move these gifts, okay, once you begin to move these gifts, you clear these programs, your gifts emerge. Your intuition, your ability to heal. So let's take a look at that. What does that look like? What is essentially the higher human? And we talked about this yesterday, allowing the higher human to emerge. What is that? Well, this is the product of all of that work that you're doing. Okay? This is your toolbox for the next 20 years. Humanity will depend on whether they cultivate these abilities or not. Your ability to navigate this realm will 100% depend on whether you can cultivate your higher faculties. Why? Because the higher faculties are a direct result of your 0 point. The clearing of your ancestral programs, parasitic programs, fears, anxieties, and doubts all manifest through these higher faculties. You can master them. Number 1, your intuition. Okay. The cultivation, the training, and the mastery of your intuition is the number one thing that we need to work on at this time. Because if we don't have an intuition, we are completely dependent on the external realm. We are completely dependent on external circumstances. We are dependent on healers, retreats, gurus, whatever it is. We believe the idea of gods, and remember creator states. Let's go back. So you live in a state of survival, you live in a state of separation. So the lowest state of that survival is that you don't believe in a god. You're completely disconnected, but you don't understand yet that you are a god. You're completely in the state of disempowerment. Your belief of disempowerment is incredibly powerful. And therefore, your natural state of existence is survivor. Okay? So if you feel that you are helpless in this world, that you yourself cannot even help yourself, and you don't even know or have any awareness of the rest of yourself, you'll exist in absolute survival. The next state of that would be that we are looking at these godlike states, the intrinsic belief that a god is something that is external to us and that has more power than us. Okay, and so this is something that humanity is recovering from by the inversion through religions. And there have been some unfortunate things that have come as a result of the indoctrination of religion for many centuries. And the purpose of religion is control in very profound psychological ways. And also the inversion of truth, the inversion of natural order, the inversion of the truths and the reconnection of nature, the disempowerment of humanity in which it believes that it has to look outside of itself for protection, for healing, for love, for anything that they require. We have been taught and indoctrinated through many religions that we need to seek outside of us. And more than just those belief systems, the concepts in religions have been limited to the public. The real information of the empowerment and the education of your architecture, of your biology, of how you function, of the nature of this reality, the nature of yourself, has been hidden and suppressed and replaced with religious concepts. And so this caused tremendous amount of confusion, because when humans are having these experiences of their etheric aspects of themselves emerging, we have been severed from making sense of those things in a way that we can integrate and come into full empowerment as sovereign beings. And even just psychologically, the dependency on a religion in order to, the unfortunate thing is that it creates followers. And we do not want to come into that following minds of followers. We are here to become co-creators, sovereign individual co-creators, completely mastering your own body and what you can co-create in this world. And that is extremely important. And it's important for you to understand that, because the recovery from religious belief systems is actually one of the most difficult, because it's so deeply embedded in social engineering, in marketing, in the way that we see roles, gender roles in our society, the way that our society is structured economically, financially. I mean, in every area of our reality, there is an influence that is rooted in these inversions of truth, of the empowerment of humanity and the natural laws of human. Okay, so it is extremely important at this time that you develop your intuition so that you can begin to become self-governing, self-supporting, the provider and the source of your healing, which takes me to the next topic of being the healer of yourself. Okay, this is the next way that is deeply, deeply the inversion. The deep inversion of humanity is that we believe that we are helpless, that we depend on the pharmaceutical industries, or that we depend on these external things to heal our body. Now, there is an extent in which we depend on medicine at this time, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you being the cause of your illnesses, the cause of your imbalances and disharmony in the body, which takes the body out of a regulated state of health and vitality. Okay, so when we become parasitic towards ourselves, we become self-destructive towards ourselves. And we cannot allow healing in the body. Even medications that do help the body don't work the same way, because we are destructive towards ourselves through our thoughts, our emotions, and the way that we perceive ourselves in reality and in this world. Okay, so this is extremely important. And to heal yourself, to understand the power of utilizing life force in the regeneration of your body. Now, your body holds programs of regeneration naturally. Okay, your liver completely regenerates every I believe it's 60 days. Please don't quote me. I can't remember anymore that um, that that fact. But each one of your organs is minding their own cycle of regeneration. Okay, and let's just take a look really quickly at. I mean, even within a single 24-hour, your entire body is regenerating itself. It's healing itself just through the natural order of the body. Now, when we are completely disconnected from our body, what does that mean? When you don't know what you're feeling, why you're feeling, what you're thinking, why you're thinking what you're thinking, when you don't understand clearly your intentions behind your words, your actions, and your words, actions, and your emotions, you are completely disconnected from your body. Okay, you are not grounded in your body. So to ground fully into the body, to be fully incorporated inside of this physical vessel, is to know and to understand the subtle language of frequency and energy within the body. Okay, and that essentially is what we are harmonizing. We are bringing into harmony the body. Okay, the healing of these organs by the rebalancing of our emotions brings the body into total healing. The healing of these bodies brings a harmony within the elements of ourselves. The healing of the body brings into harmony the many core energetic influences that bring us into being. Okay, and these connect us with the planets, with the planetary systems, with the greater cosmic systems which we have encoded within our DNA. Okay, so this connection of self-healing is a higher faculty that we must develop. Okay, so all of you that are healers, that are becoming healers, the first reason why you're becoming a healer is to heal yourself. You need to understand the first reason why you have the gift of healing is so that you can heal yourself. We have to heal ourselves, mind, body, and soul. That takes me to the next topic, the mastery over matter. Okay, the integration of these three systems, mind, body, and soul in the body, is your ability to master the physical realm. As you learn to integrate these, your intuition, your ability to heal your body, you are now learning how to affect matter. When you heal yourself, you are changing the frequency, the spin of your atoms. You are changing the course and direction of frequency, the flow of life force as it runs through your body. So you are affecting matter. Okay. As soon as you feel yourself coming down with the flu, you fill your body with love, you begin to deprogram the feelings of helplessness, worthlessness, not being loved that you have within your body. What happens? Boom, you heal yourself, and you don't go through with that experience, because illness is an experience. It is a learning lesson of awakening. Okay, so if you're not learning the lessons from the illness, from the inharmonious states of your body, this is where we begin to come out of balance. So the mastery over the matter then starts inside your physical body and is a direct projection into your physical, into the physical and come into health. So does everything topic, because I talk about healing the self in many other videos that discuss long-term illnesses, illnesses that are brought down through generations. You know, all of that is healed through your genetic code through shadow work. Okay, and sometimes people are coming into this incarnation in order to experience an illness. That's part of their agreement, their karmic agreement in this lifetime. Okay, so it doesn't mean that you're going to heal all of a sudden from one day to the next, because what you need to understand is the reasons why our participation in the co-creation of the illness. Because again, remember, creator states, we are not victim to any cycles of co-creation. We're not victim to any manifestations, both in this dimension and in other dimensions. And the more that we remember who we are, the more that we wake up consciousness, the more we're going to understand our participation. And that's why waking up sometimes is so extremely painful, because you begin to see yourself for who you really are. You have to see your shadows and your lights. And many lifetimes, you know, we have failed the same lessons that we're failing now. So our ability to heal and transcend those lessons once and for all is the healing of these ancestral lineage, and essentially the ability to master your manifestation. Manifestation is a direct reflection of your entire belief system as a vibrational signature that is an inputted charge into this holographic system. Manifestation is your ability to integrate the three realms of your body, mind, body, and soul. If you don't integrate these systems, really your manifestation becomes very difficult and challenging, and extra work, extra suffering in between. Okay, so it's extremely important to understand your manifestation, and you are so in charge of your creation. You are 100% in charge of your creation. If things are not going the way you want them to go, you need to change something within yourself. Because what is happening here is that we don't understand the participation that we play in manifestation of things. And we are very used to coming into victim states of helplessness, you know, codependency, interdependency in unconscious states of repetition. And what happens is that it's very hard for you to move on from there, okay, to come into healing. And so there are many levels of manifestation. And if you want to learn more about them, you just need to familiarize yourself with creator states. Because what manifestation is, it's creation. Okay. So your life and the way and the quality of your life, the quality of your relationships, the quality of your, you know, interactions with people, places, and things. Just notice, where are most of your manifestations coming from? Okay. Do you have a lot of chaos, problems, and stress and dramas in your life? Okay, so your creations are coming from these states. The moment we begin to take responsibility for that, this is where you are starting to come into your purpose. Okay, so this takes me to the next level of integrating your purpose, is navigation of your higher dimensional realms. So as you begin to practice intuition, you have a responsibility that with that intuition, the responsibility is that you now have to understand the cause and effect of your intentions and your awareness and what you do with your knowing. There's a responsibility behind what you do with what you know. Okay, and that all plays into your ability to come into instant manifestation. In higher dimensional, more advanced civilizations, they are experiencing instant manifestation of things. They think it and it manifests into the physical, into the experience. Now that's a really powerful tool. our human race at this time isn't ready for that, because we are still parsing through the debris of our vibrational frequencies. Okay, but we must come into that in the next 10 years. It's absolutely essential. And the cultivation of these higher faculties, the exact same mastery energetically over the yourself in your everyday life, the breaking of karmic contracts, your ability to work with your chakra system. Let's bring it more practical, okay? Your ability to expand and contract your energetic field in order to work with your environment, your ability to come into coherence and unconditional love. That is a direct tool that is necessary for manifestation and co-creation in the physical body. Your ability to master your sexual energy, okay, that all plays under how you are cultivating and working with your life force. Okay, so if we don't understand, how to, hold on a second, let me change this so you guys can see it for a minute. One moment, please. There we go. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so the moving of your life force in your body. So the only way energy can move through your body is by clearing these psychological programs of separation and survival, okay? Because every single thought form that you have in your body that is negative belief system, fear-based, blocking unworthiness, for just a couple examples, all of those are literally crystallized in your energetic field, creating blockages. Okay, they're literally creating blockages. And your energy field cannot move in that way. It becomes stagnant and blocked. And your auric body becomes disrupted. It becomes broken, torn. There's disconnects, okay? So the body that has all of these blockages in, those are thought forms. So blockages are thought forms. When we have a lot of thought forms that we haven't cleared because we're not meditating and we're not clearing our energetic bodies, we can't access higher states of consciousness. We're not helping ourselves. So removing these blockages from your body are absolutely essential for you to understand your purpose, because otherwise all you're doing is revolving around these lower states of consciousness that are completely limited. Your perception is limited. Your ability to tap into higher awareness, intuition, direction, and discernment, they're not available, okay? And the sexual energy, which is your most powerful primordial energy, the fact that we deplete that, let's say pornography, let's say the misuse of that energy in any way, is the depletion of your most powerful creative energy. And yet, sexual abuse creates fractalization of your soul in your chakra body, okay? The chakras become fractalized with trauma, whether it's sexual, emotional, psychological trauma. All of those create fractalizations in your chakra systems, which are thought forms, right? Because trauma is a perception of an experience that becomes a thought form, that becomes crystallized in your body, which becomes a blockage. And it becomes a repetitive program. Psychologically, they become defense mechanisms, which are personalities, right? Which basically direct our manifestation capabilities. The way we believe ourselves and the rest of this external world is a direct reflection of that. So if we continue to have these stagnant states in our body, we are really blocking our ability to come into these higher states of co-creation. And your purpose will be defined by these thought forms, because those thought forms will influence, they will taint, and they will fog the clarity of your ability to discern in your intuition. Okay, so a person that has a lot of blockages They don't have an intuition. They're completely disconnected from themselves. So what ends up happening is, again, everything that is in unconscious repeats. It goes into the cycles of repetition. Okay, so we essentially repeat the programs of our ancestors, the suffering of the ancestors. Nothing's moving, nothing's healing, nothing's manifesting. And in the higher dimensional realms, when you enter into the higher dimensional realms, essentially you are parasitized upon because you exist as a parasite yourself. Okay. So these are things that we need to understand. Now, the next level of that, the human that begins to cultivate these higher faculties, begins to train their ability for remote viewing. This is an extremely important tool in your discernment to understand what you are entangled with, what you are connecting with, and how you're interacting with it. Your ability to remote view is a very important tool that allows you to connect with many dimensions and this world. And it'll aid you in your physical life, in your discernment, in your navigation. Okay. Our ability to heal the body is directly as a direct result of the function of quantum non-locality. And if we truly understand how quantum non-locality works, we understand entanglement. At the very cellular molecular level, we are interconnected through our genetic data to these planetary systems because the body is a portal that connects us to those. Okay. And so we need to understand that the self-regulation of this body is a self-regulation of this universe collectively. Now, let's go into the next level of this work, that your purpose from this world, from these deep work that we're doing, is in order to embody unity, awareness, compassion, unconditional love, and oneness. This is extremely important to understand, okay? That what we are aiming for here, now this is your choice, right? You can choose how you want to exist, what you want to create, how you want to create it. Your ability to manifest and to come into these creation states. Look at number 7, right? Okay, so let's go by order. We were in number 5, looking at manifestor or communicator. Number 6 is the state of existing in awareness, okay? So once you train yourself to constantly exist in a state of awareness, excuse me, we can now be able to access truth. Your perception of truth will be distorted as you are in these lower states. Your perception of truth will be inverted as you are in the lower states. If you exist in survival, you are not really able to understand and discern truth. And I know that that might feel hard to understand, but the truth is that truth can only be processed by those that are deeply in alignment and connection with themselves. Truth can only be discerned by those that are deeply connected to the natural cycles of this earth. And you can only access the natural cycles of this earth by clearing the debris in your body, the subconscious mind, through your DNA, through your ancestral lineage into this moment. This is where you begin to master energy, life force. Okay? And this is where you become the seer, the prophet, the one that can, see things. Okay? So this is a very important state. And those of you that are existing in the state of awareness, that are tapping into truth, you play a very important role in this time for humanity. You must not be intimidated, afraid, or doubt your ability to access this. One of the biggest downfalls of humanity is the mistrust that they have in themselves. And this is usually where people get up to this state and then they fall from there because of they distrust what they are tuning into. Okay, so there's this, we can fall, and I just want to mention this now. There's not really going back, but there is repeating. Okay, so those of you that think, oh, I was here and now I'm down here again, you're down there, but you're down at a different frequency. And you are always moving forward. Evolution is always moving forward, okay, into a higher octave. So even if you feel that you are moving in and out of these different states, and you are, because this is the nature of this construct, we are constantly cycling from all of these states until we find our rooting, our grounding, and our until we choose to fully embody any one of these states. We're going to continue to moving through them. Okay, and even in these states, we are evolving. Even in these states, and and those states are going to be evolved in this exact same way, from separation back into unity, different levels of separation into higher levels of unity. We cannot comprehend some of these greater universal concepts because the human mind is limited to the perception of human laws, human physics, all these laws that we create for ourselves that limit us from understanding much greater concepts. And those of you that are contactees, those of you that are connecting to these higher intelligences are privy to those things. And it's an activation of your DNA. It's an activation of your abilities. Okay. So next state is when you come into pure creation. This is where you begin to experience miracles, synchronicities. You begin to exist in this state of co-creation. You can only co-create when you have gained the responsibility of your creation by truth, by accessing truth, the pursuit of truth. You will be able to come into co-creation. Whose truth? Your truth. You need to know your truth. If you don't know your truth, you're nowhere. Okay? And your ability to see your truth will clear your lenses from seeing the truth around you. And this is where people go through dark nights of the soul, where they begin to see the truth of the world and they're appalled by the atrocities that exist in this world. But those are all direct reflections of the atrocities we commit towards our own self too. Parasitic consciousness. If it's in you, it's outside of you. And we also choose timelines and we create our reality. So as you ascend in these levels, your perception of those atrocities will also change into a harmonious understanding, into compassion, into peace, in understanding the laws and the cycles of life and death of this construct, in which we're no longer becoming identified and stuck in the programs of those experiences. So if you are existing in your suffering over and over again, and you're telling your suffering story over and over again, you're repeating it over and over again as an excuse to not move beyond that, we have to have profound compassion and self-love to gently guide ourselves into the truth. Truth will break those cyclical patterns. They will also break, when you are truly in truth, your own self-destructive patterns will break, because you're going to understand they don't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's not something that has longevity and healing and health. Okay, so these states of co-creation, the next step of that is coming into pure knowing. Okay, so those of you that begin to channel information that is not influenced by your emotions and fears and the ego, very important for you to understand, when you are in separation, when you are in effect, if your intuitions are coming full of fear, you are still in separation and survival. Okay, higher truths will be more harmonious. The more expansive they get, you will be able to see from the perception of harmony. And it's imperative that you do, because the truth in the higher level of truth in the bigger picture is that everything is operating in a harmonious balance. So when we look at things like through a little looking glass, the earth looks like a disaster, right? We have parasites, we have creators, we have wars, we have death, we have suffering, hunger, and then we also have love, ecstasy, compassion, community, connection. Okay. But when you zoom out, these are all self-organizing and balancing in a greater harmonious state than we can comprehend. And so it requires a certain spiritual maturity. It requires your own pursuit of truth. And don't take my word for it. You have to see this for yourself if you see it. Okay. But you will be able to understand that. And this is how we embody states of peace, right? How can you be peaceful when there's death occurring in the world? Well, when you understand why those deaths occur, the cycles, and you are no longer in states of attachment. Okay, so now that we understand biophysically, energetically, emotionally, co-creatively, energetically, the creation states, let's talk about the next level of, okay, what is my purpose? How do I integrate my purpose into the physical world? Okay, so everything I've explained up until here is the purpose of every single human if they choose. If they choose, I'm sharing with you the mechanics of this construct and how you can participate in experiencing these different levels and the outcome of those levels. Okay, so the next step is, once you understand and cultivate the higher faculties, such as your intuition, self as your ability to heal yourself and others, this is where you begin to refine your purpose. And clearing up the ancestral trauma in your lineage through yourself means don't repeat the programs of the past. So once you're not repeating those cyclical patterns of suffering, once you create a stabilized nervous system in your body, a regulated nervous system, once you're tapping into your intuition and have an internal dialogue between your mind, body, and soul, and you are in congruency with these systems, and you are acting on integrity. Integrity is absolutely the key to even beginning to move through these levels of creation. If your actions don't match your words, if your words don't match your actions, we have a lack of integrity here. And this integrity, it's a spiritual integrity. It's the integrity of your soul, and to see yourself for who you really are in that rawness. Okay. And so when you are able to access that, your gifts will emerge naturally. Your gifts, because who you are is not the product of your ancestral lineage. You are infinite potential. So the idea that you can be whatever you want is true, but to understand that and for you to believe that for yourself, you have to go through this understanding of understanding your truth. Who are you first? Okay. And so it's very important to trust in yourself, and that trust is cultivated through integrity. The trust in yourself is the key to the trust into the universe. And the concepts of religion were borrowed by looking at the true constructs of this system in which we are the gods of co-creation. We are the ones that are creating our reality, and we are the ones that are in charge of healing ourselves, of pulling us forward, of coming into this truth of discernment. So this will guide us into the gifts, and the gifts that we have will be, it's very beautiful when you begin to access these incredible gifts that are available to you through yourself. Okay, because what you are discovering at this point is that you, in your DNA, you have many generations of seers and psychics and healers. And most of you that are waking up consciousness right now, you're remembering all of that. Okay, You are remembering who you have been, your ancestral lineage, and how it plays a role in who you are today. And so as you become clearer with this awareness of yourself, your incredible gifts that you have that are innate to you, that are your sole purpose, are emerging. And you have to be, and self-love, and so this is to bring it all together. The way to do all of this work is by the cultivation of self-love. You must love yourself unconditionally. You must accept yourself for who you are. You must understand your gifts and your power in such a way that you are honoring what you are and what you're not. That the law of the universe, that you are all and nothing simultaneously, is really the one that we have to move through fluidly in order to understand our participation. Okay? And each one of you is playing this role. So whatever career that you've chosen at this time, it is not by random chance. Most of our career choices when we are in unconscious states are repeating patterns from our ancestral lineage. And it isn't until we wake up consciousness and we begin to look back at these ancestral history that we understand the effect of that. Okay? But what happens for a lot of people, and this happens in my sessions every single day, that they begin to wake up consciousness, they begin to remember who they are, they begin to realize that the career they have chosen was actually dad's idea of a career. It was mom's idea of what is the right thing to do. It was social engineering, social pressure, the losing of our true self that guided us into these behaviors and habits of creation in which we believe we need to be certain ways. And most of those things that drive us are the pursuit of acceptance, the pursuit of approval, the pursuit of love, or the illusion of love, usually the romantic love, which is in essence the pursuit of source, yourself. So all of your purpose in your life is all moving towards yourself, you meeting yourself, you reconnecting with your source through you. Okay. And so essentially, even in the unions and the partnerships that we choose for ourselves, the partners that we bring into this world, we are united by resonance. Okay. So and I was talking about this in our conversation earlier in this podcast, which I will post and I will share with you guys when it comes out in a month or so. But the hybridization program, in a sense, is me and you. Okay, so our choice to bring a soul into this planet, we are co-creating. Okay, we are co-creating, and at the time of conception, the intention that we put into that co-creation, if it's fear, will define the journey of that soul that is coming in. If that intention is pure love, unconditional love and unity with the source, what we bring in is going to be a direct reflection. It's going to be an advocate for this intention. Okay. And so we are creating in the physical realm with our children, our offspring, and we are also creating interdimensionally. Every single one of you is participating in co-creation of souls. Whether you know it or not, you are participating in that co-creation. So your awareness of your purpose, you have many purposes, in other words, okay? And you are all fulfilling them. Whether you know it or not, you are fulfilling them now in this present moment. The invitation of this conversation today is for you to activate the parts of you so that you can have free will or tap into the ability to choose and co-create rather than be at cause of these repetitive creation patterns. Okay, so you either create or you are created, literally. Okay, so it's very, very helpful to understand the bigger picture of things because it pulls you out of your victim mode. So those of you that are feeling helpless and lost, please understand that the answers are sitting in meditation state in which you begin to access this information. Okay. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today. You know, before I leave, I do have important questions that I want to address. Um, Let me just open up. Hello, everybody in the chat. So wonderful to see you guys. Hello. Welcome, everybody. It's so wonderful to see you. Okay, if you guys have questions, please put them in capital letters so I can answer them. But I do have some questions that I want to answer that people have posted previously, and I want to answer them now. And I found them to be extremely interesting and helpful. So let me see if I can find it. Okay. Alexander asked, I think Alex is on this call now, but Alchemist Alexander is asking, I'd like to know what the difference is between specific chords. I understand the trembling ones, the knotted ones that are fractalized and stuck in fear, but what do cold ones and hot ones mean? Okay, so Alchemist Alexander, you are talking about, so you've been developing your ability to see your multidimensional body. And so as you begin to develop the ability to see the multidimensional body, you begin to see your etheric connections. Okay. Now, we are extremely connected to everything. So you're never going to get rid of all the cords, because cords are like neural pathways. The way that neural pathways function in our brain, that when they fire together, they wire together, creating these bioelectrical charges. Okay. And essentially, when we reinforce a thought, we are literally charging, okay, these communications. In the same way that a neural pathway works, the cords of our cells to people, places, and things also function. Wherever our attention goes, that's where energy is embedded, encoded. Okay, and this is true multidimensionally in your waking state, but also in your dream state and when you're navigating etherically. Okay, so what does that mean? Let me take a look at this question again. Let me just open really quickly this. I want to share with you really quickly. Let's just look at a visual briefly. How are these cords connecting? First of all, when you're looking at cords in your body, I want you to notice where in your body they're attached. That's going to tell you a lot of information. So I'm giving you the tools of how to understand this information, how to access the information for yourself. Okay. So Alchemist Alexander, when you access this information and you begin to see these cords in yourself, there's a couple things. Rather than what they look like, so obviously you're a very visual person. I want you to tune in. I want you to refine your senses to tune in to the emotional charge that is within these cords. Because the way that you see them physically, with knots, with cords, they look like strings, they are showing you the vibrational frequency that is there in that cord, and you intuitively know what that means. Okay, so knotted ones can represent to you a contractive energy. Okay, just a complete entanglement, a confusion. So what I want you to do is, when you're looking at these cords, I want you to connect to the emotion that is connected. So two ways to do that. How do we know that? Every single organ in your body, okay, has an emotional data connected to it. Okay, so whatever organ that these cords are connecting to, they're speaking to the polarities of these organs. Every organ, everything in this universe has polarity. Let me just put it that first. Okay, so if you understand that, that should be your basic understanding. Every organ in your body also has a polarity to it. Okay, and so we want to understand which one of these polarities what vibrational rate is it oscillating at. So all of the cells that make up your liver are oscillating at a vibrational frequency. That vibrational frequency is informed by the emotions that specific organ processes. In the example of the liver, this is not a good chart for this, but for example, anger. Okay, the liver processes anger. Okay, I'm sorry, this chart doesn't have that. I have another chart for that that will show you that. Um, but when we have a tremendous amount of anger, and this is both biochemically, the kind of chemicals that are secreted and created by the liver, the processes that happen biochemically in the body as a result of the emotion of anger. Okay, anger will trigger certain chemicals to be secreted by certain parts of the endocrine system in the organs. They will contract certain areas of your body processes, and they will expand certain ones. They will magnify certain ones. So that is an understanding that you reach by sitting with your emotions and understanding the effect of those emotions on your physical body. That requires a deep awareness and observation of your emotional body and your physical body. Okay, so if a cord is connecting to the liver, okay, to that part of your body where the liver is, chances are that if this is a heavy, yucky, gooey cord, and what you feel is this heavy stagnation, there's an information there for you. The liver processes anger, and the root of this cord, if you really take a look at it, can be anger. Okay, it's not always the case. There's many levels, because at the end of these polarities, what there always exists are two polarities: fear and love, the feminine and the masculine. Okay, so you have to be able to discern by looking at the cords and looking at where in the body they're connected. What's the information that's being given? What's the program that's being thrown? What's the bioelectrical charge that you are connecting, utilizing to come into resonance with this person, place, or thing that's on the other end of the cord? And what information are you throwing back and forth that you're caught up in a loop of throwing back and forth? Okay, so this is really important. Now, temperatures, hot and cold, speak to whether something is moving in a centripetal or centrifugal fashion. When something is moving in a centrifugal fashion, it's cold, cooler. When something moves in a centripetal fashion, it becomes warmer. Okay. Now, there are also other truths that are true later on in more advanced understanding of these concepts. Okay. And I'm not going to talk about those there, but they have to do with the blue flame and the blue aura and how we activate our violet light. Okay. Because actually the body regulates itself when it comes to its highest state of alignment, and we come into a super high vibrational state, but it doesn't operate by hot and cold anymore. It transcends those states. So I'm not talking about that right now. I am talking about in the body, and usually when there's heat in the body, it represents either an illness or a thought form that is stagnant, which is pain or illness or stagnation of energy. Okay, so all of that exists in your body. So take a look at that. Each one of those cords will tell you what is going on in your body, and it'll tell you how it's going on in the body. Okay, I hope that helps. Ellen, thank you so much for that super chat. Love you, and it really means a lot to me. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go to the next question. Hi, Geraldine. Is there any meaning to the fact that your family line stops with our generation? Both my brother and I never had any children. So effectively, we are the last offspring from our biological parent bloodline. Okay, that's huge. And honestly, this is such an amazing question. I cannot fit the answer for this. I need to make an entire presentation on this, and I will, because it's extremely important. Okay, but to give you a quick answer, the answer is yes. Okay, many things in your ancestral lineage are coming to an end. When we choose to no longer have children, we no longer become entangled, because any child that we bring into this world is a soul. It's a fractal of our soul. They have our DNA, they have our cells, they have a part of our soul within them, okay, which infuses their life force. We are never disconnected from that child. We are one, okay? But not only are you not disconnected, we know that we're one, but you're entangled. Okay, so let's take a look at really quickly the concept of entanglement for those of you that might not remember. But the concept of entanglement essentially is that we are communicating, intercommunicating simultaneously. Hold on, let me open this. Let me find it. One moment, please. Let me find it. Entanglement, where are you? Entanglement. Okay, entanglement. Let me just continue because I know we have to go here. Okay, we become entangled, and so the intercommunication of ourselves with this other organism is vibrational. It's through vibrational frequency that we are intercommunicating simultaneously with this other organism, which means that everything that we do in our ascension or descension of ourselves, there isn't really descension, honestly, it's ascension or stagnation of ourselves, is felt and experienced by our offspring. Okay. I cannot find the entanglement chart here. Sorry, guys, can't find it. We'll come back to that later. Okay. And so what happens is that in our process of evolution, when we are finishing a cycle and we are no longer repeating, not repeating that cycle would also mean not having children. Those cycles, not having children. Now, if you wake up consciousness and you choose to, because let me tell you, behind the choice of not having children are many profound programs. So what we want to understand is our choice for not having children in alignment with the highest collective, or is it coming from fear and unresolved traumas? This is part of co-creation. Okay, so if our choice for not having children comes from unresolved traumas and fear, then we're not really understanding whether our potential for healing is there for us or not. Because at the same way that the child will inherit the suffering, the child will always also inherit the next octave of our spiritual evolution. And they will anchor into this world the next octave of all the spiritual evolution of ourself and our ancestors that have not been reached. That's why every new generation is encoded with a higher octave of consciousness that pulls forth the evolution of mankind. It pulls forth humanity. It pulls forth your entire ancestral lineage and your interdimensional aspects of yourself, which are encoded in your genetic code. Okay? So the choice to have children or not has to be discerned in a careful manner. And the invitation here is consciousness. You need to be aware of why first. You need to make sure that the reason behind your choice isn't counter creative to the healing of the collective, because your ascension will bring an even higher octave being into this realm. If you choose not to have children, what happens is you end with you ancestral lineages of information. If you alchemize them, if you end your life, you live your entire lifespan without having children, but you didn't alchemize the trauma from your ancestral lineage, you're still going to reincarnate again and be entangled in this realm. You're still going to fall into that incarnation cycle within the same family. Okay, and it might be your immediate, remember, we exist in many dimensions simultaneously, and we're coexisting and interconnecting in many dimensions. And time is not linear, it's simultaneous. So aspects of yourself are existing with your ancestors in other timelines. And those of you that have hypnosis can access this information. You're privy to this information because you're navigating, you're accessing this information. That's why hypnotherapy can be very, very healing, not only for you, but your ancestral lineage in the future. Okay. So it's extremely important that you understand the role that you play as a co-creator really affects more than this dimensional plane. And the key is the alchemization, the transmutation, which creates mutation in your DNA. Your transmutation of your limiting belief systems, your fear belief systems into higher states of consciousness and coexistence and co-creation is changing the mutation in your DNA. How do we know this? We can trace back your ancestral lineage to the very beginning of time. Your ancestors, your relatives, are going to be profound uh, healers, seekers, sages, Jesus Christ, Buddha, all of these heightened states of illumination through history, through our understanding of the historic timeline as we know it. But encoded in our DNA is the real history of that, okay? And we are one. So we are all related to one another, and we hold within us encoded those elevated consciousness that have come through history. You have that in your DNA. You are a descendant of that, and you have those abilities encoded within your architecture. They're innate to you. Your utilization of them depends on your understanding of the consequences, okay, of this use. So it's really important to understand these concepts, I guess, if you want to be a soul that is conscious and aware of the cause and effect of these programs. And how I have come to these conclusions is really understanding incarnation cycles, near my own personal near-death experience, my clearing of contractual agreements in my own family, the roots of those contractual agreements and how they relate to the bigger picture of this, and going into my past lives. I've visited every single one of my past lives to understand what are the repetitive patterns in those past lives. And all of that education through my own self helped me refine my discernment in this lifetime, here and now. And I understand what is my priority and what is not my priority. I understand my purpose and what is not in alignment with me. It becomes very clear to you when you understand who you are. And this will hopefully take you out of states of suffering and unconscious into a state of co-creation and fluidity and movement and healing. Okay. So yeah, so awesome questions, guys. Thank you so much. Alchemist Alexander, you just blew my mind. Thank you. I'm so glad that answered your question. I hope it answered your question. Infinite being, everything you speak of is super advanced. I hope it's understandable. If you guys have any questions, let me just see if I missed anything. Okay, I have been talking to another self of me. Is it normal to talk to higher dimensional future selves? Yes, it's normal. I love that question. Well, let's look at it this way, okay? And let's talk about how to talk to interdimensional aspects of ourselves. We're not going to talk to interdimensional aspects of ourselves like we talk in our current world. Why? Because the way that we communicate in this world is inverted, okay? First of all, we're not clear about our intention behind the words that we speak. We're not clear about our emotions, and that makes us very confused in our discernment and our intuition. So, okay, so if your everyday communication is coming from this, you're also, if you're not in control and mastery of your emotional body and your nervous system, you're most likely in constant states of trigger and cause and effect with your environment. Your environment says jump and you jump. Your environment says cry, you cry. They put the Disney music, you start crying. So we're emotionally manipulated by our environment, and we are at the mercy of our environment, and therefore our communication essentially cannot be authentic and rooted in the ultimate truth, because your communication is completely infused and informed by these programs. So where are you? Where is your true essence? First of all, okay? So that being said, that awareness and that work and that cultivation of that part of you will define, first of all, who you're in resonance with. who you're attracting to in order to communicate with. And this is where discernment is extremely important. And I don't say this from a place of fear, because there's nothing to fear. Nothing. There's nothing to fear, because it's absolutely essential that each and every one of you is communicating with your higher aspects. It's part of your ascension, your graduation, and your maturity. It's part of the mastery of your intuitive abilities. Okay. But essentially, when we are in the lower states of survival, and when we are confused about our discernment and our intuition, what we interact with in these etheric realms is going to be a parasite. It's going to be a reflection of ourselves. And so we have to be able to discern, not from fear, but from the 0 point. What is the exchange that is occurring with these interactions? What is the lesson? What are the gifts? What are the offerings? What are the requests that are being exchanged in this interaction? Just the way we discern our everyday experiences, we need to learn to discern our interactions with these etheric bodies. Because alternatively, here's what happens. If you're a person that activated your intuition, but you're in a lower realm of survival, your intuition will only tune in to mediumship. You won't be able to go beyond mediumship. You're only going to connect to disembodied souls, souls that are trapped up until the 11th dimensional realm, maybe 9th, 10th dimensional realm. All of these, dead people, disembodied, disconnected beings. You're going to be very connected to those realms, poltergeists, like all of these weird things, these manipulations and inversions of nature. You will exist in that realm in the same way that if you're connected to nature and you are vibrating at the frequency of nature, you're going to connect to the elements. You're going to communicate with the elements. You're going to communicate with water. You can master water, move water. All of these incredible abilities that we have are emerging from our coding. When you go into dream state, you're navigating these planes. You're encountering Draco-reptilians, Arcturians, these beautiful high vibrational angelic beings, and they are all a reflection of your current vibrational frequency. And you cannot take things for face value in the same way you cannot take things for face value in the waking state, because nothing is ever really what it seems until you know yourself extremely well. And that will allow you to discern the masks that are being worn by yourself are the same masks that are being worn by these entities and beings. So you may interact with a being that looks angelic at first, but you might not realize that this angel only comes when you're in a state of suffering, only comes when you're in desperation, pleading help. And you have to understand the laws of exchange. This angel, the presence and the information it gives you might bring you comfort, but there's also an exchange happening. That being might be feeding off your fear and your anger at the same time. Okay. And this took some time for me to understand, because and I'm not saying all angels are parasitic. Of course they're not. Again, you have to discern to see who is really there in front of you, who you're interacting with. But the quickest way to discern that is to understand your frequency, to understand your resonance. Everything in this world, in this universe, in this hologram is defined by frequency. You're not going to come in contact or have any conflict in your life that isn't a direct reflection of you. Okay? And this also goes for greater problems, pandemics, wars, okay, political problems, abuse of children. These are all the immaturities of our own soul evolution that we are still parsing through. And it's the same thing in these interdimensional aspects. So as you refine your discernment and your ability to intuit and connect to yourself, the more clear you will be about your interactions. And one of the tools that I share with you, and I invite you to look at my video on the crown chakra, you must activate your crown chakra, everyone. You need to activate crown chakra, the 7th and 8th, because the crown chakra helps you see your agreements with these interactions. Because again, it's a projection of yourself. You need to see what are you projecting, and you can only see that by accessing your crown. Your crown is embedded in that truth, because it's, as you refine and clean up your DNA, clean up your trauma, you refine the information that you are pulling through the crown, because this is where the non-physical meets the physical. the infinite potential meets this physical body, where it becomes self-organized in the chakra system. So we are learning how to use the technology of the body in order to begin to understand that. Okay, that being said, as you're communicating with these interdimensional aspects of yourself, understand your agreements so that you can understand with your utmost sovereignty and most accessible free will. You can discern how you wish to interact, what you wish to receive, what you wish to give to these beings. Okay, and part of your healing is that interaction, so pay attention. A lot of times these interactions come with the activation of your DNA, your intuitive abilities, your gifts, your training. Many of you are existing in alternate lifetimes, developing your tools in these alternate realms. Okay. All right, my love. So that brings the end of today. Today was a heavy topic. There's not enough time for a meditation, but I will create another meditation for this separately. Okay. Grandizer, yes, the majority of things you speak of goes over my head. I listened to show support. I tried to do things that you tried to share. I found it too difficult to keep doing at any long period. Little by little, Grandizer, and don't take my word for it. Please use these as little stepping stones and tools to help you in your navigation. You have to listen to yourself, but most importantly, sit in meditation and come into that stillness, because your truth will be found there. And it's going to be your specific ability to access that truth with your unique frequency. Okay, so again, we are all our own guidance system. All right, thank you so much. I love you guys. I sing Lars, thank you so much. Timoth Man, so great to see you, Timoth Man. Infinite Being, Ellen, thank you once again for that kind super chat. Lucky, thank you so much. So many of you, I'm so sorry. Christine, thank you so much. All my love to you. Jerry Elmore, thank you so much for being here. Paula Louise, Angie, Adam, Lighter, welcome from Switzerland. Beautiful, welcome, Alex, great to see you, Cedric. Holographic Heart, Liza, wonderful to see you guys. Love you so much. And I will see you tomorrow. Thank you, James Bradley from Ireland. Seedlin, Lonika Yoli, love you. See you soon. Bye-bye. Good night.